Betrayal often wears a familiar face, doesn't it? They thought their words, sharp as shattered glass, could cut through the fortress you built. But they underestimated the resilience forged in your trials. Once an ally, now a shadow consumed by envy, they waged their war of whispers, crafting tales to dim your brilliance. Yet, truth has a way of outlasting the fleeting echoes of deceit. And now, where their malice once roared, there is only silence, a void where their venom dissolved, leaving you standing, unbroken, a testament to the power of light over darkness. The stage they built to tear you down has crumbled beneath their feet, leaving only echoes of their failed ambition. This was never mere happenstance, nor the random hand of fate. It was the natural order aligning to shield those destined for more. The universe doesn't falter in its vigilance. It guards its chosen with unseen forces, weaving justice into the fabric of existence. What unfolded before you wasn't just retribution. It was the universe reaffirming your place, a reminder that those who try to dim a destined light will always be consumed by their own shadows. The downfall of your adversary was not chance. It was the weight of their own actions returning with unyielding force. Every word they twisted, every attempt to tarnish your name, every scheme they spun in the shadows, it was all a thread in the web of their own undoing. They failed to grasp a universal constant. The light you carry is not yours alone, but a beacon entrusted to you by a higher purpose. And when darkness dares to encroach upon it, the very forces of existence bend to protect what must endure. Their collapse was not your doing, it was the universe restoring balance. Now they linger in the periphery, enveloped by the very shadows they once sought to command. Their attempts to diminish you have crumbled, leaving them to confront the heavy cost of challenging one protected by forces beyond comprehension. Their absence is louder than their attacks ever were, a silent admission of defeat. And here you are, unshaken, fortified by the trials meant to break you. The path ahead is clearer now, your purpose sharper, as you move forward with a light they could never extinguish and a strength they could never hope to match. The betrayal you endured was no spur-of-the-moment act. It was a carefully orchestrated play from a script as old as ambition itself. Their initial devotion was a facade, a calculated ploy to get closer, to learn the contours of your strength and the vulnerabilities you worked so hard to guard. Their flattery wasn't affection, it was strategy, a mask disguising their true intent. They didn't walk beside you out of loyalty, they shadowed your every move, gathering what they could to one day strike. But what they failed to realize is that true power isn't in what they can take, it's in what you are, and that can never be stolen. In the future, remain vigilant for those who seek to mirror your brilliance without first cultivating their own light. Look closely at those who eagerly absorb your ideas and mimic your voice, yet lack the discipline to forge a path of their own. Beware of the ones who cloak their curiosity in false camaraderie, their questions laced with hidden intentions, their interest more invasive than genuine. Pay attention to the way their gaze lingers on your imperfections, as if searching for cracks to exploit, while they conveniently overlook the radiance of your strengths. True allies will walk beside you with authenticity, not seek to dismantle you under the guise of closeness. Their shift from friend to foe was no coincidence. It was triggered by the exact moment your light began to shine too brightly for them to endure. The timing was no accident. Those who walk in shadows are always drawn to disrupt the ascent of those destined to rise. Their betrayal was not born of emotion, but of strategy, a calculated effort to halt your progress before your momentum became a force they could no longer oppose. It was never about you as a person. It was about what you represent, an expanding force of purpose and power that threatened to eclipse their fragile illusions. Darkness always strikes hardest at the dawn, but your light was never theirs to extinguish. Those who dwell closest to your inner world often become the most dangerous, blinded by proximity to the truth of your path. They've seen the cracks in your armor, the weight of your burdens, and the nights when doubt whispered in your ear. Yet, instead of recognizing these moments as the scaffolding of your strength, They misinterpret them as weakness, as proof that you're undeserving of the mantle you bear. What they fail to grasp is that greatness isn't born from flawlessness, but from resilience. It's not perfection that defines the chosen, it's their unrelenting commitment to the purpose that called them, even when the world and those closest to them fail to see the vision. Their attack was timed with precision, striking when your focus was deepest on building, creating, and moving forward, when they assumed your defenses would be down. Their tactics were as unoriginal as they were insidious, cherry-picked fragments of your story, distorted to fit their narrative, misrepresentations of your intentions, twisted until they bore no resemblance to the truth. They leaned heavily on the power of manipulation, crafting emotional bait to ignite outrage and incite the mob. By magnifying the whispers of a few and dressing them as the roar of the many, they fabricated a storm they hoped would shatter your foundation. But storms built on lies are fleeting, and truth, no matter how battered, always finds its way to the surface. The actions of your detractors reveal the truth they refuse to confront. They cannot generate their own light, so they devote themselves to dimming yours. But what they fail to understand is that the very battlefield they chose, this digital realm, is your domain, not theirs. While they fixate on superficial metrics, vanity fueled by likes and fleeting validation, you move with purpose, attuned to the unseen flows of influence, connection, and resonance. They underestimated you, mistaking their noise for power, not realizing that true strength lies not in the surface ripples, but in the deep, unshakable currents beneath. In their attempt to diminish you, they only amplified your presence, illuminating the vastness of your reach and the depth of your purpose. The platforms they twisted into tools of attack are, paradoxically, wired to reward authenticity in the long run. What they saw as a stage for their drama was, in fact, a mirror reflecting their emptiness. Their fleeting spark of attention was not success, but the universe silently assembling an audience to witness their collapse. Meanwhile, you stayed steadfast, focused on your mission, creating, guiding, and inspiring. While they poured their energy into tearing down, you built something enduring. This contrast between their hollowness and your purpose spoke louder than any response you could have offered. Time, as it always does, revealed the truth. Substance outlasts spectacle, and those who sow destruction inevitably reap their own undoing. As they poured their energy into crafting endless rants and accusations, their desperation became louder than their words. You, however, chose a different path, one of quiet focus and unwavering purpose. To the silent observers, the contrast was undeniable. Chaos versus clarity, noise versus intention. The digital world, though seemingly untethered, obeys the same universal principles as the physical one. The energy they unleashed, rooted in negativity and spite, was destined to circle back, amplified. Meanwhile, your steady commitment to creation and progress sent ripples of positivity that grew into waves, silently reshaping the narrative without the need for a single rebuttal. Your former ally, blinded by their own arrogance, failed to grasp the immutable truth. Every action carries a consequence, and no attack exists in a vacuum. They believed their calculated slander would go unchecked, but the very words they weaponized became their undoing, laid bare for all to see. What they never accounted for was the intelligence and intuition of the collective. They underestimated the audience's ability to discern authenticity from fabrication, to recognize a narrative stitched together with half-truths and lies. In their attempt to manipulate the masses, they revealed only their own desperation, while you stood rooted in integrity, allowing the truth to speak for itself. Their critical error was rooted in the narrow confines of their own limited awareness. They assumed that others would see the world as they did, through a lens clouded by insecurity and ego. Yet, beneath the surface-level noise of likes and comments, a more profound judgment was unfolding. Observers weighed your steady, unwavering history against their erratic, attention-seeking outbursts. Keen minds recognized the contrast between your quiet confidence and their escalating desperation. The truth was evident not in their words, but in the energy behind them. Where they sought chaos, you embodied calm. Where they fought for validation, you stood firm in authenticity. Deep within the human psyche lies an instinctive ability to sense genuine strength, a quiet yet unshakable force that needs no performance to validate its presence. This innate awareness discerns the enduring substance of authentic power from the fragile pretense of those desperately clawing for attention. The collective consciousness, far more interconnected than your detractor could ever comprehend, became your greatest ally, a force immune to the shallow tactics of manipulation. While they tirelessly worked to fragment the narrative and exploit individuals, you recognize the unified intelligence of the collective, a living entity that weaves truth into an unassailable shield around those who stand in integrity. This is the reason why attempts to undermine those who walk in true purpose are destined to collapse. Authentic leadership is not upheld by one individual alone, but by the collective energy of those who recognize and resonate with it. The audience transforms into a living shield, an extension of universal order that instinctively defends what is real and pure. In their ignorance, your detractor believed they were waging war against a single opponent, blind to the fact that they were challenging the awakened awareness of countless minds and hearts unified. It was never just you they opposed, it was the unstoppable force of truth, supported by the collective power of those who see beyond the illusion. The moment of reckoning came with an almost divine precision, an inflection point where their deception unraveled under the weight of its own contradictions. One misstep too blatant, one desperate grasp too obvious, one final attempt to build themselves up by tearing you down. The shift in collective awareness was subtle at first, like the quiet pull of an incoming tide, then all-encompassing as its unstoppable force became clear. Those who had once been swept up by the allure of emotional manipulation began to see through the cracks, their curiosity giving way to clarity. Questions arose, not just about your attacker's motives, but about their integrity, and the tide turned irrevocably in your favor. The voices that once shouted in unison against you grew quiet, their confidence faltering as they felt the undeniable change in the air. This shift was not the product of strategy or human intervention, but the work of a higher unseen force, one that always guides truth to the surface, no matter how deeply buried beneath layers of deceit. What began as a carefully orchestrated campaign against you unraveled into a slow, inevitable collapse. The very stage they built for your downfall became the site of their own undoing. Isolated and exposed, your former ally faced the consequences of their choices as the natural balance restored itself, proving that no lie can outlast the enduring strength of truth. You see it, don't you? The cracks in the foundation, the weight of a system teetering under its own corruption. But recognition alone isn't enough. It's about what we do next. When survival is dictated by forces beyond your control, when the rules are written to serve the few while the many are left unheard, the call for justice becomes impossible to ignore, to stand, to thrive, to reclaim what's been stolen. This is the heartbeat of a rising tide, a collective voice demanding change. And know this, we're not just listening, we're standing with you, ready to rewrite the game. Chosen ones, before we move on, I want you to pause for a moment and take action. Subscribe to the channel and share this message with those who need it. This is your moment, your divine calling, and it demands action. Share this message with those still searching in the dark because you are the light they need. The storm that once tried to break you has become the wind at your back, pushing you toward destiny. You've released fear, shattered limitations, and awakened the unstoppable power within. You are no longer waiting for change. You are the change, the catalyst for transformation, the flame that illuminates the path for others. Every step you take, every choice you make, radiates the truth of your divine alignment. The time for doubt is over. This is your season to rise boldly, to claim your purpose unapologetically, and to create a legacy that reverberates across time. The movement begins with you. Step into your power, embrace your light, and let the world feel your fire. Subscribe now and join the revolution of awakening. Now, refocus your energy and recognize the beauty of restraint. You never had to lift a finger to orchestrate their undoing because truth has a way of dismantling lies without assistance. You didn't stoop to their level by engaging in the same tactics of fear or retaliation. Instead, you stood firm in your faith, knowing that the cosmic balance would correct itself in due time. Their downfall was not the result of your actions, but of their own unraveling. The more they struggled to maintain their facade, the more transparent their intentions became. Desperation seeped into their every word, their every move, a frantic attempt to salvage an image that had already begun to crumble. And as they spiraled, their audience watched, their trust eroded with every misstep. This wasn't coincidence, it was divine timing, ensuring that their lesson was witnessed by all who needed to see it. Justice doesn't rush, nor does it falter. It arrives precisely when it's meant to, exposing the truth with undeniable clarity. This impeccable alignment exposes the deeper truth hidden beneath the surface chaos. What seemed like mere social conflict was, in fact, a manifestation of divine order. The universe operates with a symmetry so perfect that no human hand could replicate it. Every action meets its consequence, every intention ripples outward, guided by laws far greater than any earthly system of justice. You've witnessed this before, time and again, as those who sought to hinder your path inevitably stumbled, not by your doing, but by their defiance of forces they could neither comprehend nor control. It wasn't personal, it was universal. By standing in opposition to your purpose, they unknowingly disrupted the balance, setting into motion their own undoing. And through it all, you remained steady, knowing that this greater design is always at work, ensuring that truth and purpose prevail. The act of erasing their words was more than damage control. It was an admission of defeat, a silent confession that their narrative could no longer stand under the weight of its own falsehood. Every deleted post, every vanished account wasn't just an attempt to rewrite history, but a testament to their crumbling facade. In those quiet acts of retreat, they revealed the truth they had fought so hard to suppress. They were no longer in control. This wasn't merely the end of an argument. It was the collapse of their credibility, their relevance, their place in the conversation. The emptiness left behind by their erasure speaks volumes, a reminder that truth doesn't need to shout. It stands firm, while lies eventually erase themselves. In every era, the universe has its way of preserving truth, no matter how fervently some may try to erase it. What was once carved in stone is now etched in the collective memory of the digital age. Deleting posts, deactivating accounts, and rewriting narratives cannot undo what has already been seen and felt. Your former allies' attempt at vanishing their missteps is a reflection of their fear, not just of exposure, but of accountability. Yet, the energy they've put into self-erasure only amplifies the weight of their actions, for what is hidden often becomes more conspicuous. True redemption isn't found in erasing the past, but in confronting it with humility and growth. Their efforts to vanish from the record may momentarily obscure their misdeeds, but the impact of those actions lingers, woven into the fabric of the story they tried so desperately to rewrite. Their silence now echoes louder than their loudest accusations ever could, a resonance that reveals the depth of their defeat. It is not merely the absence of words, but the weight of unspoken realization, a quiet acknowledgement of the forces they underestimated. This retreat is not just an end to their attacks, but a haunting reminder of the cost of opposing what was never theirs to challenge. The shame they sought to avoid will linger as a shadow in their mind, revisiting them in moments of stillness, a silent teacher delivering lessons they cannot ignore. Their surrender was not to you, but to a truth far greater, one that humbles all who dare to stand against it. The drama may fade from view, but the scars of this reckoning will remain, shaping their path long after the world forgets. A profound transformation now stirs within them, born from the ashes of their own undoing. This is the turning point where arrogance meets its inevitable demise, and self-awareness begins to take root. For some, growth demands the searing heat of failure, a trial by fire that burns away illusions and exposes the raw truth beneath. Your former friend has been forced into this crucible where humility and understanding are forged through pain. Yet it wasn't your actions that brought them here. It was your unwavering grace. In choosing restraint over retaliation, you became a mirror reflecting the magnitude of their missteps. It is in this silence, rather than in conflict, that they are left to confront the weight of their choices and, perhaps, to finally begin the journey toward true growth. True power lies not in the impulse to react, but in the discipline to rise above. While others flail to defend their pride, the truly wise understand that silence can disarm far more effectively than words. You maintained your course, unshaken by their attempts to provoke, refusing to descend into the chaos they created. This wasn't indifference. It was a calculated display of strength, an unwavering focus on what truly matters. In choosing not to engage, you revealed a truth they could never comprehend, that your purpose is far greater than their noise. Your quiet resilience spoke louder than any rebuttal ever could, proving that dignity and vision are the ultimate forms of power. The stark difference between their relentless fixation on tearing you down and your unwavering dedication to building something greater illuminated the truth for those with the clarity to see it. While they exhausted themselves in pursuit of destruction, you drew strength from a deeper well, a connection to a purpose far beyond fleeting conflicts. Your power isn't rooted in retaliation, but in creation, a force that thrives because it remains aligned with something eternal. To seek revenge would have been to abandon this sacred flow, to waste your energy on a path that leads nowhere. Instead, your focus remained forward, proving that true strength lies in staying aligned with your higher calling, untouched by the noise of those who cannot comprehend it. Every attempt to derail you is a test of your resolve, a challenge designed to measure your ability to remain steadfast in the face of chaos. By declining their invitation into the theater of conflict, you proved that true leadership is not reactive, but intentional, guided by vision rather than emotion. Behind closed doors, you allowed yourself to feel the full spectrum of human emotion, the sting of betrayal, the fire of indignation, the quiet triumph of rising above it all. But you chose to respond from a place of higher understanding, not impulse. This deliberate self-mastery is what sets you apart, elevating you beyond the grasp of those still entangled in petty dramas. Every trial, no matter how painful, refines you, sharpening your focus and fortifying your character. This betrayal, like all the others before it, was not a detour, but a necessary step in your evolution, a tailored lesson to prepare you for the weight and responsibility of the next chapter in your journey. Reflect on what this experience has forged within you, a heightened clarity that now acts as an impenetrable shield, ensuring only those aligned with your values occupy your inner circle. You've cultivated a resilience that allows you to navigate storms without losing momentum, a skill few ever master. Your unwavering dedication to your purpose, even under relentless scrutiny, has become a testament to your strength, visible to all who watch. None of these gains were accidental. They were earned through the fires of this challenge, perfectly timed to meet you where you stand in your evolution. It came not a moment too soon, nor a moment too late, but precisely when you were ready to endure it and emerge stronger. This trial was not a setback. It was a stepping stone, preparing you for the weight of greater trials and the rewards of even greater victories just ahead. The timing of this challenge was no accident. It was a deliberate and purposeful step in the orchestration of your growth. What once felt like a random blow now reveals itself as a carefully placed lesson, designed to refine your inner strength. You've gained spiritual resilience, calluses that shield you from harm without hardening your heart. This delicate balance allows you to stay open to authentic relationships and meaningful connections while standing firm against deceit and manipulation. Such mastery is rare, a hallmark of profound spiritual evolution. It's the ability to remain both strong and sensitive, unshaken yet receptive, that sets you apart and prepares you to navigate the complexities of your path with wisdom and grace.